For when I get started, I have all of my file explorers open for what I need. It is a mess, so if you have a different method for your workshop, please use it. If whatever works for you, chaos works for me. Organized chaos, but chaos nonetheless. So the first thing I usually have up are my Blender body bases. These are not technically required, but they were built by Red Simmer on Tumblr, and they essentially have the lamp and lighting positions within Blender already built in. So it's less of a struggle than opening a new Blender and setting the lamp and lighting settings. That's just something I don't know much about, so I cheat and I use Red Simmers. And we're probably just going to do the AF body base using that one, but what I sent you guys I think is Red Simmers, so it might not have these extra files in it, but those are just morphs for when I do clothing in Blender. Next up I have my mesh references. So typically you can just extract these from SimPE. This is Endgame Hairbinner, but I opened it before I opened the Mesh Toolkit. Mesh Toolkit is a huge resource for assigning bone assignments. We will use this today as well as manual bone assignments for the particular hair. It's also great for automating morphs with clothing, among other things, but nothing that we need to worry about right now. And then I have my downloads folder, my saved Sims folder, and of course my actual hair workshop. So I just have a workshop folder on my computer. Within my requests, I put my hair for today. You're welcome to use your own hair. Most of what I'm going to go over does apply to alpha. Some things do not. I will try to let you know when that happens. But predominantly everything I go over will be for both clay and alpha. Go ahead and I'm going to close out all that. This is my desktop. It's a mess. We are going to go ahead and extract the resources from the Melanie hair. Okay, so first things first, you're going to want to open up Sims 4 Studio. You're going to go to My Projects, and you're going to route to your workshop area, and you're going to click on your Sims 4 package. And this is the hair. I'm using the middle mouse button to scroll forward, and then I'm holding down the middle mouse button to move her back and forth on the plane. Now I'm clicking the right mouse button to rotate her, and I'm just dragging it around. So we're just doing a simple ponytail, simple-ish. These are your EA color actions up here. I typically use just the darker ones basically, and this honey colored blonde. But let's first go over to the Meshes tab. You're going to export your mesh, and you can see here the polygon count is about 6,300. So it's good to keep in mind for those who are concerned about poly count. And you can name it whatever you want. You're just going to do the export mesh, name it whatever. And then while that's going, I like to go back to texture. Usually I do it while Blender is loading the file, but I blanked out for a second. I do like to use this lighter red for when I'm editing meshes because it's easier to see. In my opinion, it's not too light like blonde, it's not too dark like black. But again, use whatever you prefer. So once you have it selected, you're going to export. And again, name it whatever you want. So now you have the PNG file and the Blender file. If you want to just go for the full, the full Monty and just download everything, while you're in Sims 4 Studio, you can hold down Control-Shift-C, and that'll open the cheat console. You can then type in studio.exportall, and then hit OK. And then wherever your file is, it'll generate the resources folder. And once it's done with its batch export, what you will get is all of the LODs, your shared normal, shadow, specular, and then all the colors. I don't need all that. So, but it works best for like clothing and stuff, especially if it's got like 100, or even hair. If you got like 100 recolors and you're, apt to do them all, go for it. For today, we're just gonna do the one color. Yeah. So with that, we are done with Sims 4 Studio, and we are moving on to Blender. All right, so this is our hair in Blender now. If you're unfamiliar with Blender, I will do my best to give you the hotkeys and how to move your sim around and everything, and how to navigate Blender. Okay, so right now I am just rotating her using the middle mouse button. I'm just holding it down and dragging her around. You can drag her all the way around. Don't get dizzy. Just holding it down and then going right across the plane. Middle mouse button to zoom in and out. You can also hold down Shift and hold down the middle mouse button to move her around on a singular plane. So Control and middle mouse button zooms in and out. So Shift, middle mouse button, she goes right in. On your number pad, if you press 5, this puts you into a different perspective. So where 5 is more of like the milk-shaped 3D view, where you can kind of go inside their head and see what they're thinking. 5 keeps it outside, kind of like tab mode in-game, or cameraman mode. So we just don't know what she's thinking. And let me see. Okay, that's all for right now that I can think of. So let's go ahead and break down this mesh to start. So over on your right, there's the property view. Regardless, you have 3 Sims 4 Studio meshes. You have Mesh 1, Mesh 2, Mesh 3. One of these is your true mesh. The other 2 are hat chops. To click on it, hold down the right mouse button and drag. So this is a full head of hair. So more than likely Mesh 1 is our full mesh. You can also, instead of kind of guessing and clicking on all of them, you can also use the eye here to hide the other meshes to see which one is the true one. And to be honest, looks like all of them are the true ones. So this just means that A Harris 00 Brittany didn't make hat chops for this hair, which makes sense. It's a ponytail. That doesn't really need a hat chop, I wouldn't think. So what we can go ahead and do is we'll keep Mesh 1. I like that one. And you're going to click on Mesh 2, right click, right mouse button, and we're going to delete this. Do the same for number 3. Go ahead and delete that. We are going to go into the Materials tab down here. I usually call it the World, but I mean, it's really not called that. And, I don't think we actually need to do anything in here, but I like to see if it's on. And then right next to that's the checkerboard or the texture module. And I don't want this diffuse map. This is like the Sim's skin. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And now what is assigned is the hair texture itself. And scrolling down, we're going to go to Influence, and then you're going to select Alpha. I'm missing a step because I always forget. We do need to go back to the Materials tab. C. We're going to select Shadeless, Shading, Shadeless. And underneath that, Transparency. We're going to turn that off. So now it looks like it's back to its normal state, except we no longer have that Sims 4 skin attached to this texture in any way. So now what I would do is I'm going to open up the rig, and I'm going to go ahead and delete everything in it from bottom to top. I'm going to do the same thing, right click, delete. We're just getting rid of the Sims 4. You can leave the teeth if you want. It's fun to look at. let's go ahead and we're gonna import a Sims 2 body. Now we're gonna do that we have our head. We're gonna go into File, and we're gonna import Sims 2 gmdc.5gd. And I'm gonna go find my full body. You may get an error, ignore it. As long as you have this creepy ghost, you are set. So from there, over in your properties, still haven't figured out what this is called. You're gonna expand on the full body. And we don't really want to work from this because, to be honest with you, it's blinding me. So first thing I'm going to do is turn off the armature, which is the Sims 2 skeleton. And I'm just going to click the eye. Now we just have the ghost. You can bring in a Sims 2 skin to work off of. I am not going to do that solely because I don't have a family-friendly one, so we don't want to see anything crazy. And then from there, we are going to go back to the world or materials module. We're going to click new, and we're just going to turn the intensity down. And from there, we're going to go, this is all under diffuse, I'm sorry. So in diffuse, turn the intensity down. You could do, you know, actual, like just 0.3 if that works for you. That's going to work better for me. And then diffuse. We can pick somewhat of a skin tone color. I like to go purple just so she stands out against my background. Now I want to copy this for the scalp as well. This is going to help me define if there's any clipping in my mesh. So clicking back on the purple bar or whatever color you chose, you're going to go to hex. And you're going to copy the hex code by clicking on it. And you can do Control C for a copy function. And then remembering the intensity I put as 0.3. We're now going to go ahead and click on the scalp. Same thing, we're at the world, materials module, new. And I'm going to put 0.3. And we're going to put 0.3 like I said. And diffuse, I'm going to put my hex code right in there using Control and V as in Victor. Now I have a purple scalp and a purple body. Again, you could import a scalp texture and a skin texture. I'm not going to do that today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and hopefully this works. I'm going to delete that. We're going to go to new, and this will be a new texture. We're going to go to open, and I'm back at my workshop where my Melanie hair is at. I'm going to go ahead and select the Mel hair, and I'm going to open it. And then now I'll go down here to influence. We're going to put this as alpha. Now we're going into edit mode. There's quite a few things we need to edit. She has got some, well, let's bring her out. She has got some weird, well, obviously a Sims 4 head is much bigger, wider than a Sims 2 head. So she's got a lot of gaps in her hair as well. Sims 4 Sims are shorter, so we have a little bit of work cut out for us. Also, we need to keep in mind that we have pieces that go right up to the scalp. And with Sims 4 clay hair, or even their scalps in general, the scalp does not align with the Sims 2 scalp. So try as you might, there's either going to be a gap or clipping. There's different camera angles if you use your number pad. If you don't have a number pad on your keyboard or your laptop, or however, you can always check the preferences. But the ones I use most are the number pad 5 for the perspective, and then 3 if I want to get a proper profile view. I'm going to hit tab. Tab takes you to the last place that you were as far as these modes. I believe it defaults to edit mode, but in any case, we're going to start here. Now what's popped up is the mesh is highlighted. This means that the entire mesh is selected. So if I go up, the entire mesh goes up. Now I'm holding down the left mouse button, and to cancel this, if I don't want it to sit there, but I still have it held down, I can hit right mouse button and it will cancel my interaction. Same thing as I just did a bit ago. If I let go, Control Z, and of course, so the green is the y-axis that usually takes you back and forward. Holding down the blue arrow will take you up and down, and the red arrow will take you side to side. If you want to go all around, sometimes you can click, there we go. If you want to go all around, you just click in the center of them. Okay, so one thing we need to do is I want to lift her up a little bit. Kind of want to make sure when I'm starting that the ears are aligned with the sideburns, and then it's not clipping too much into her skin. That could all be fixed, but it's better to get a starting point. And since I know that Sims 4 hairs sit lower and towards the front, we're kind of going to work with that. And I tend to work one at a time linear rather than pulling all at once because this just gives me a little bit more control. So angling up like this, I'm going to go ahead and pull up on the the blue. I was staring at her scalp when I said that. I'm going to pull up on the blue just a smidge. My first point of contact is right here with the headband. So pulling that up, that now is much better. And then we have the back of her head. And here we're starting to see where it's just a little bit different. And there we go. So we kind of have a start. Everything's kind of in its place. You can see here in the back, it's not going through. It's relatively close. There's no clipping up at the top. Now all we have are these humongous gaps. We've used the transform tool, which is, basically moving these around. And now if you wanted to as well, instead of pulling with these arrows, you can hold down G. This is usually I use for more refined tuning. If I'm moving the entire mesh, there's really no point in using it. We'll definitely get to the finer tuning later. But you can do G and then press Y, and that'll move it on those axes as well if you prefer hotkeys rather than using your mouse. So pressing G, Z moves her up and down. G, X moves them slowly side to side. It's just a bad angle on my part. But those are just some hotkeys for that. Next, so we've used transform, translate, excuse me. Now what we can do is start to scale this inwards, and I tend to use the hotkeys for this rather than going here and pressing it. So from there, you're going to hit S. S is in sugar. And I only want to bring it in. I don't want to full scale it. So we don't want a little baby ponytail or a humongous ponytail. We want to just refine the sides. So we want to go ahead and press S as in sugar, X as in X-ray, and we're going to slowly bring it in. And I'm moving mine up and down. This was not a good angle. Let me go where I can see the sideburns here. So SX. See how I was starting to go in a little bit too much? That's okay. We want it to come in just a bit. And I'm going to go right there. I know I went in too far, but for practice purposes, that's okay. I'm going to bring this down just a smidge. And probably bring it forward just a little bit. There is some area up here where I can see gaps. I'm going to do that when we get better lighting. But for right now, we've scaled her in. She's starting to look better. And now we're going to switch from edit mode down here. We're going to go up to sculpt mode. With scaling, sculpting. With sculpting, there are a few things. There is a radius option with sculpting. Basically sculpting, like I said, it's like the terrain painting in Sims 2. You have a radius. You can go, I like to keep it for when I'm doing hair 65 to 80, just because I like to get up close and personal and I don't like a wide scope. Now your strength I tend to keep pretty low. I mean, if you go at 1, I mean, that's a huge bump. So I tend to stay away from anything like the original strength of 0.5, even that's like way too much for me. I like to keep it a little bit more refined. So when I'm using the Sculpt tool, especially for hair and it's close to the scalp, I tend to keep it between 0.150 and like maybe 0.250, and then I edit the strength as I go. So this is where you start your tuning and your shaping and stuff. And then of course when you get to like some gaps where, you know, it's just not going to happen, that's when you can go into edit mode again and just bring it in slowly. But for now I've got some bigger areas that I need to sculpt out. Symmetry lock. So I will also use the mirror option, because with this hair, whatever I do on one side, I'm going to have to probably do on the other. Now, eventually this hair is not going to be ideally symmetrical, so eventually I'll have to turn this off. But at least to get us started and to get it away from the scalp, I will keep the mirror option under symmetry lock on. And I tend to pick the better side. So like this this sideburn right here is pretty far in. This one isn't too bad. This is pretty far in. The sideburn over here is also pretty far in. So I'm going to go ahead and start on this side just because it has more of the hair sticking out. And then that way, when I go to this side, I can turn off the symmetry lock and fine tune from there. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the left mouse button and just kind of start to bring it out. You can drag it and it'll pull out as well. And some of these, yeah, there we go. And then you can kind of see here, you can see like the inside of her head. We might need to fine tune that by moving it forward instead of out. And then I'm just holding down the left mouse button and kind of making circular motions. And I'm going to kind of go up her head just to be sure. With sideburns too, especially with, and then I'll fix that as well. Especially with like clay hair, the hair is obviously up too high in this case because of where her sideburns are. Fix that for the most part, it's out. So I'm going to turn off my mirror for X and just bring the rest of that out. There, now we've got a base started with this hair. We're going to go ahead and make sure that our Sims 4 Studio _mesh is selected. So I did leave this out because it doesn't apply to alpha hairs and I chose against it, but it does apply to clay hair. Make sure that your mesh is selected, the entirety of it. And then you're going to come down here where it says edit mode. Make sure you're in edit mode. Go to mesh, clean up, remove doubles. And it removed 1,758 vertices. So I didn't do that because I know with alpha hair and even some clay hair, it can royally mess up the mesh. But what this remove doubles does is it removes seams. So sometimes with like, it will create a, there's a harsh seam going down the hair, excuse me. So mesh, clean up, remove doubles will essentially remove those for you. And that works for clay hair, not alpha hair. And then you can export it. So with the mesh selected and unhidden, we are going to go to File, Export, Wavefront Object or .obj. So down here, let me bring that up. I am in my workshop area for the Melanie hair. I'm gonna go ahead and do selection only and smooth groups. Leave everything else as is. So make sure you have selection only and smooth groups. I don't necessarily know what smooth groups does. Someone else may know in the chat, but I do know selection only. If you don't have that selected, everything will come over. And if it does, sometimes it merges everything. Okay, and then our object will be named Melanie, and you're gonna go to Export Object. So then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into Milkshape 3D 1.8.5. We're gonna go to File, Import. I'm sorry I uploaded my chaos for you guys, but it should be in a folder within what I've given you. But you'll have your bases, and we want AF Hair Bald. What this does is it imports the adult female scalp, the mesh, the skeleton, the bone assignments, everything. So if done right, you should have a listing of joints here. You should have a skeleton when you select Show Skeleton under the Joints tab. And then if you want to make sure that you have bones assigned to your scalp, you can hit this Draw Vertices with Bone Colors, and you should have a pink scalp. Then once you have that, you're going to import your object, Wavefront Object. And we're going to route to our workshop for Melanie, and you're going to open up Melanie. Melanie, even with the Draw Vertices, she should be white because she has no bone assignments. So if I hit the select button and just drag my left mouse button over the hair and I hit show, she should have none 100. That's perfectly fine because we haven't done any bone assignments for her. We are going to go ahead and you can hide the hair. We don't need it right now. We're going to go ahead and select Melanie. You can double click on the default name, or you can select. Hitting select also deselects it. Double clicking also deselects it. So just make sure that she is red. I don't even turn off that. We want her to be red. Now from there we're going to go to materials, and this is where we're going to assign the hair texture. Back in your workshop area for Melanie, before we assign anything to her, we want to open our PNG file, and I edit with Paint 3D. If you edit with Photoshop, GIMP, Paint.net, whatever, you're just going to open this file, and you're just going to want to crop it to 1024 by 1024 and make sure that the hair texture is selected. I always drag it all the way up. However you guys do that in your preferred photo editing program, it's up to you. This is just fast and easy, cheaty for me. So I'm going to hit done. Now, rule of thumb, when you have large texture files, like anything over 1024 by 1024, especially for hair, is usually frowned upon. And some Sims 4 creators do have 2048 by 4096 size files. I would suggest to crop it to the 2048 to 2048 and then reduce to the 1024 by 1024. 2048 by 2048 works in SimPE, but it doesn't work for everyone's game. So ideally, rule of thumb, let this be your max resolution or max size. Okay, so we're going to save Mel. We're in materials. We're going to go ahead and delete the diffuse map. That's just showing what came over as the object. So this is the old texture file. We don't want that. So go ahead and delete. We will miss you. RIP. You're going to hit new, assign, none. And then I guess I was working on the Rinna jeans last night. You're going to go to Mel here, your new file size. There it goes. And open. So this hair is mapped to a 1024 by 2048 texture size, so we need to scale it down. And to do that, now that it's assigned to our hair, you're going to go to Window, Texture Coordinate Editor. So as long as your hair is selected, i.e. default, it should all pop up and you should see the UV mapping within it. This is a little crowded, so if I push Fit Selection, it should bring it out to where you can see the entire texture. Reset will bring it out even more. Actually, this is the entire texture, I'm sorry. Fit Selection will show you just the UV mapping. Reset will show you the entire picture. If you lose the UV mapping, it happens with me with accessories when I'm scaling them. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck is all I can say. Accessories are for someone else, but I will say I have lost many a UV map doing this.
Yeah, I always lose those too.
Okay, good. It's not just me. I feel so silly when it
No,
happens.
it's not just you.
Okay, good. Hair is easy. It is basically one click away. So you're going to go to scale. And before we do anything, make sure that you have the lock X check marked and lock Y unchecked. That's just going to make it so that your mesh only can move up or down and not left or right. And from there, you're going to change the right box where it says factor. The right box that says 1.0, you're going to change that to 2 or 2.0. And then hit the S, and then your map. So I could show you in Blender, but that's like an extra 10 minutes of me finagling with this thing, where this is already like perfectly aligned for me. So now, what's left? So now within Milk Shape, last what we need to do is assign the joints, and easy peasy, you're just gonna assign it to the head. So you just hit assign, and make sure it sticks. You can unselect by clicking anywhere in Blender, not the 3D view, but anywhere else. And then hit draw vertices with bone colors. And now it should all be pink. Let's go ahead and update our codes, or our comments and our name. Just because, yeah, we're here. So you should have a codes for meshes file. And the top one should be your model name, opacity, has tangent array, and number of skin weights, skin weights. You're going to copy all of that, Control C as in Charlie, and clicking on your default, you're going to select comment, and you should have an edit comment for default box. You're just going to paste it in. You can right click and paste, or you can do Control V as in Victor to paste what you copied. And then from there, you're going to double click on the name and copy it again. Right mouse button, select copy, or Control C, whichever. And then where it says default, you're just going to highlight and paste your new name and rename it. So now we have the start of what a hair looks like. And bye-bye Milk Shape. We're going to go File, Export. I shouldn't say bye-bye, it's more like a see you later. Export Sims 2 Unimesh Exporter v4.09. And you can save this as whatever you'd like. I'm going to save it Blender Phase 2. That's a really long name, I don't normally do that. But before you save it, make sure you put extension .5GD .5 Gary Doug. This way Blender knows how to read it. If you already clicked off, it typically will say like .simpe or .gmdc or something. We don't want that. So .5gd, and then save. Right, don't close Milk Shape. Everything stays open. I have closed things so many times. You don't need this .mtl file. I'm going to get rid of it. I've closed things so many times only to find that I missed one thing, and then I get really sad. So leave it open for your own sake. Or not, it's up to you. Okay, so now you have your Blender Phase 2.5GD, or whatever you named it. We're going to go back into our File Explorer, and now we're going to open the Blender body bases that Red Simmer kindly uploaded that have like perfect lighting. And voila, it comes with an adult female sim. So I usually turn off the skeleton. We don't need the scalp per se because we're bringing our own. We're going to go to File, Import, Sims 2 GMDC. So Blender Phase 2.5GD, go ahead and select that. So now we have a very gray version of our sim, and now we have the skeleton that we brought with us. So first thing, I'm going to turn that off because we really do not need it right now. I don't think ever not with hair. And then opening up the Blender Phase 2, turn off your armature, and then select your hair Alpha 5. We're going to go back to the world and select New. Similar to what we did in a convoluted way We're going to do it much more simply now. Once you've clicked on the world and you've selected new, you're going to come down to shading, shadeless, transparency, yes, alpha, 0. So now we're going to go over to the texture module. We're going to hit new. And we have a blank texture. So we're going to hit open. We're going to go to our workshop area and we want Mel, our new Mel. And then once we see that and it's the right dimensions of 1024 by 1024 pixels, we're going to scroll down to influence and we're going to select alpha. Over here you have your 3D view, display, shade objects, and we want to select texture. That is how you get texture in Blender 2.79b. If you wanted to, I tend to work off the body in the white because I'm lazy. So, but again, if you wanted to change the color of her body face, you would again come over to the world or the materials module. And again, you can turn down and change it to, you know, kind of like a skin color, or you can go wild with purple. Yeah, I'll do purple today. Okay, but now there's like a clear difference of her scalp as well. You know, we can kind of see the ears much better than we could before. So we're going to click off the body face that came with it. We're going to go to hair alpha 5. So now we can see like the outline here that the hair is selected. And we are in object mode. And what I want to do first is align this hair just a little bit better. And we're going to do that from edit mode. You can come down here to edit mode, or you can click tab. If you open up edit mode and nothing is selected, you're going to press A and A to select and deselect the entire mesh. So A will do that for you. If you want to select a particular area, like ideally, we could start like right here. You can hold down the control and left mouse button to create a circle, and that'll select the faces on one side. So if you're just wanting to move particular meshes, sometimes it picks up from the other side, but this way control, left mouse key will just grab in a circular or whatever shape you want, just as long as it doesn't overlap or else it'll deselect. This button down here, limit selection to visible. It looks like two squares, one with a shadow. You can select that and it will show you the vertices behind it and allow you to select those as well. So now I've selected both sides in that same fashion. If you press B, it will bring up these crosshairs, and holding down left mouse button, you can draw a square around what you want to select. Right mouse button allows you to select individual vertices. Holding down shift and clicking right mouse button allows you to select individuals. If you press C and then using your middle mouse button to make kind of change the radius, you can select like a paint job. Right mouse button will cancel that interaction for you. If I wanted to hide the bands here, or not the bands, the bangs, I'm going to select one of the vertices on there, and I'm going to hold down Control L, and that'll select the entirety of that, basically a ring of meshes, or string of meshes, basically the plane, I guess. And again, holding down Shift, right mouse button, Control L, I'll select the next one. Again, right mouse button with Shift, L. So that's all kind of selected, except for the underneath. I can go ahead and try to do that too. It's probably, there's a method, there's a reason why we're doing this. Control I, and that'll be my invert. And if I want to do that, and if I press H, that'll hide it. So now while that's hidden, of course I didn't grab them all, like a knit. While that's hidden though, I can kind of just fine detail like the scalp areas. And all I did there was I did my right mouse button, and then I'm dragging out the vertex that I selected. You can just press this and then get up close and personal with her and find your vertex. You can also use that Control L to see kind of where that vertex would lie. So the one I just pulled out was this one. And then if I wanted to bring that back, I think it's, you just press H. H. Oops. I lost my mesh. Okay, I just did this the other day. She's gonna go hidden again. Bring it back. Oh, Alt H? There we go. Okay, sorry, Control and Alt mixed up. Alt H will bring it back. Sorry about that. I'm going to use the visibility tool here, can't remember its name, and I'm going to attempt to hide the ponytail. So pressing C, I'm just going to highlight the ends here and go on the outside. I can see kind of where the scalp is. And the reason why I'm doing this is because I don't want these in the way when I'm editing. So I didn't select everything. That's okay. That's where that Control L comes in, and it's going to select the rest of it for me. So while the pony is selected, I'm going to go ahead and press H, and remember that Alt H is to unhide it. And this just kind of is going to give me like a better view of where the gaps are, so I don't see the pony behind it. So right mouse button, I'm just going to kind of select up. And now that I have my string of vertices, I'm just going to go ahead and start to kind of bring them in until they clip. Now what's happening here is that when I'm bringing in, it splits the mesh, which is super inconvenient because we do not want it to do that. How do we get rid of that? Let's go down here. Proportional editing. And we're going to enable. And what this does is it's going to grab the hair in a radius. Pressing G to translate. Let me go back. There we go. So you see around my sim that there is a circle now. That is my radius for proportional editing. The translate tool while proportional editing. So we definitely don't want that. So what we're going to do is come back in close. We're going to press G, and then holding down the page down button, just continue to hold it down. That's going to bring in our radius. So page up increases, page down increases. You can also do middle mouse button, but it's a lot faster just to hold down page down. They should kind of go in together now. So I kind of want to do that on both sides, just so that we kind of stay even and consistent. So I'm going to press 3 on my number pad, and I'm going to go into the limit. I keep clicking it. I don't remember its name, sorry. And I'm going to hold down Control and left mouse button to create that circle around the vertices that I want to move forward. And I'm going to start from like second to bottom. And I'm going to go out a little bit wider. There. So now both sides are selected. I'm going to press 3 to go back. And we're just going to kind of yank these both in. Now obviously when I did that, both sides also went in. So while they're still selected, I can press X. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. S as in sugar, X as in X-ray. And then I'm going to just pull down, so that way it comes out just a smidge. And you can still see like some of this is still coming inward. That's okay. We will sculpt it out. And I want to do the same with her bangs here. We'll hide that again later. I'm going to go ahead and hide these now, the bangs. So I'm going to start from the bottom. I'm just going to get both sides. Control L, and then both sides, yeah, mostly selected. Oh, wait. Yeah, that's fine. All right. And then both those selected, I'm going to press H to hide. I didn't get everything, but I got what I needed. So with that, now I can kind of see my my sideburns a little bit better. I'm gonna go ahead and turn on that editing one more time. And I'm trying to grab everything that is not the bangs. There's that piece right there I just didn't want to grab. In any event, if I did grab it, if I just went over here and did a shift right mouse button, it'll hold the rest, but it'll deselect it. And then if I just totally grabbed everything I didn't want to grab, sometimes starting over by deselecting with A is a better help. So I kind of want to increase my radius just a smidge because I want to kind of grab more, but not quite the bangs. The bangs obviously will move the closer you get to them, so just be wary of that. I probably just brought it back down to where I was. But I want the sideburns somewhere around here. So I'm going to scooch it forward, and then I'm going to pull it down. And I'm going to decrease my radius. And scooch forward, pull down. And I may not want these ones to come down as far, so I will just select and then bring those up just a bit. And I don't know if I grab the other side, but the other side looks fine. Alright, so I'll turn that off so we can see a little bit better. Alt-H to unhide. Alright, let's go to Sculpt Mode. Check your radius because this is a new blender, so it's going to reset. We don't need it too big, maybe 60. That'll be good. And definitely bring your strength down. So we don't want to bring it out too far. We want to have some control. And now with Red Simmer, his symmetry lock is already on. So just bear that in mind. Whereas where we started with the Sims 4 blender, well, with the Sims 4 rig and everything, it was off. So starting it's off. If you're using Red Simmer stuff, it's on. Right, so like we did before, that'll annoy me. We're just gonna slowly pull it out, and it might take a little bit longer just because I have the strength down way low. Why are you like that? Oh, maybe it was always like that. Oh, also, holding down Control and left mouse button will move it back inward. So just to give a visual representation of that, if I hold down Control and the left mouse button, it goes in. If I hold it out, it goes out. And Control Z brings me back to where I was. All right. There we go. And what I'm doing is impacting this side as well, so I have to bear that in mind. And I can see my background. So at this point, I could turn off the symmetry, but sculpting is not doing me any favors anymore. So I'm going to tab back over to edit mode. And I'm just going to click this vertex right here. And I'm going to turn my radius down, because I don't want to move everything. But I need to move some stuff. There's a lot of finagling that goes in with this, so I mean, like I said, and nothing's ever going to be perfect. The best advice you can give is if it's on the scalp part, so if you can get it to fit on the scalp just fine, you should be good. There's a vertex right here. I'm just going to grab him and bring him back, just so that that hairline doesn't clip. And so we brought in her hairline a bit closer to her ear, but I always think it's too far out. This one's too far out anyway. Her sideburns are about where they should be. And again, you can delete those if you wanted to. You could just come right over here, and you can press delete or X. X will pull up the delete menu, and you can delete the faces. Delete, and then, or vertices. and I'll take care of that for you. I'll show you the UV mapper. You could select your mesh by pressing A. Up at the top of your 3D menu, there is, let's hide, go away, there we go. There is like a little upside down Wi-Fi. If you hold your left mouse button and yank on it, it'll open up a second menu. And down in the bottom left corner, there's a current editor type for this area. You can select that and go to your UV image editor. And you should see your UV map. And from here, you're going to select this little guy, keep UV and edit mode mesh selection in sync. This is important. So selecting this, you're going to go to open, and you're going to find Mel PNG, open image, and now it's kind of like you're a milkshake. Now we can edit using the UV map. So with that, say we just wanted to get rid of these extra faces down here that don't have any texture to them. They're just extra faces. I'm again holding down shift middle mouse to move around and middle mouse button to scroll. So you still have proportional editing. So if you needed to move vertices around, you could press G and just swing them around. My radius is very small, so I do that's face. If I do G and then page up, I can grab a bigger chunk of them. Okay, so I'm going to turn off proportional editing. It doesn't matter, but I feel better when it's off sometimes. And we want to get rid of these. So while we have the edit mode synced, we're going to press C and middle mouse button scrolling to bring it down. You can select by vertex. What I prefer is to select by face. So down by the edit button that I showed you, there is the selecting by vertex. You can select by edge. So right mouse button, I can select shift and select them all. Or you can go by face. Face is ideal for this because you don't want to just delete the vertex because it might grab other ones around it. So we're just going to delete the faces. And pressing C and holding down left mouse button, I can kind of glide over which ones I want to delete. And we'll do the same to the other side. Okay, so now that I have the ones I want selected, I'm going to come back over to my 3D view and I'm going to press delete, or you press X, and you're going to delete the faces. I shaved off too many. I cut into her hairline a little bit. That's okay. Control Z. And you can either move this vertex out and press G like that, or GX to move it on the X-axis, or GY to move up and down. In this case, I'll just G exit. And that changes the UV mapping a little bit, but I still can shave off all the faces that I wanted. Okay. And there we go. You see this line here? That means that inside our Pretty Sims head, if we hide it, she has a wall of faces. So I shall delete it. And for that, you make sure that you have faces selected. And you can come over to 3D view, especially with this. We don't exactly know where it's at without hunting for it. You can select the faces. You can use C to select them. But even if you can just select one, or you can select them all, find it on your UV map, get the rest of them down in here. Make sure they're all selected. Come back over here and delete those faces. Grab the little upside down Wi-Fi and just drag it back and then drag it over so the arrow is pointing at it and it goes away. I'm just going to do the same thing we have been doing. I'm going to take this back to vertex selection and put back on proportional editing. There was no reason for me to turn it off, but it did save my radius. I'm going to bring that in, and I'm just going to try to bring these closer so it hides that. Clearly there's a lot of it being shown. been going for a while. Okay, I was hoping to cap it at 2 hours. Okay, so this is our hair. We're probably gonna go over 2 hours. I'm sorry, guys. Now what we're gonna do is we want to animate the ponytail. So we're gonna go ahead and select the most of what we can of her ponytail. So it's coming up right along here. I'm gonna try to get that one piece I left out last time, this piece. So I'm gonna kind of swing around, try not to grab her scalp. You're gonna do Control L, and we're gonna invert selection with Control I, and then we are going to hide her scalp and her bangs with H. So now we have left is her ponytail. This is what we want to animate and add bone assignments beyond head. Once you guys have that selected, properties. Oh, that's not properties. Oh, this is outliner. We're going to go to the properties area, and you're going to go to type of active data to display and edit, or data module. And you can see here we have the vertex groups. You can click this right here to bring it up and down. Once you have head selected, down where it says edit mode, you're going to go to weight paint. And she should turn bright red. But we don't want it to be head 100 because it'll only move the way her head moves, which it'll look really bad, in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and select spine 2. And now it looks black, but it's really a dark blue. It's just because I don't know why sometimes it does this. Sometimes it shows it really nicely, but this time it's not. Now once we have spine 2 selected and you're all blue, you're going to come over here and look at your weight. Your weight should be 100. Your radius, you can leave it at 63 if you like. I'm going to turn it down to the original 35-ish. And pressing 3 to get her at the perfect profile. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. And what we're going to do is start at the bottom, holding down Alt and your left mouse button, you're going to drag it up, and you should see color changing. I don't know why it's not giving me the color, why it's so dark on mine, but you'll see it's very dark blue, there's a light blue, green, yellow, and then orange and red. Red, bright red, would mean that it's at 100% spine 2. So it's going to move essentially with this midsection right where her shoulder blades are. Ideally what we're going to want is this yellow part to kind of line up with the top of her shoulders, maybe a little bit above. And I kind of just spin around sometimes just to see what's happening. This is a slow gradient way of doing it. If I just held down left mouse button and went right over, it's going to try to assign everything at 100 and outliers at a lower strength or a lower weight. We don't want that. It'll look bad. Now, my green is up really high. I kind of want that more in line with the neck. So I'm going to turn the weight all the way down to 0. And I'm going to start at the top, holding down Alt, and just slowly bring it down. Now it's too low. I think this is where the blue is, so I'm going to bring it back up. Just a smidge. So once you're set, you're going to press Normalize All. You can add other bone assignments as well. Spine 1, you can add it once you start getting towards the middle of the back, and then spine 0 once you start getting towards her lower back and beyond. There is an option for bee hair, which I call Bouncy Hair. So a lot of creators, when they're adding the bee hair, they will put it towards the middle or the back of the hair. So it kind of looks like it's like waving in the back. So we'll go ahead and do that. So we've hit Normalize All on our spine 2. And then we're going to go ahead and starting from the bottom, you can leave it at 1 if you want. It doesn't matter. We're going to reduce it. I'm just going to go ahead and pull this up really high, and now we're going to bring it down really low. And we want to keep it centered towards her neck. So with that, that's really what I need to do for this hair. You're gonna hit normalize all again. And there is a limit on how many joint assignments you can assign to a Sims 2 hair. You can add up to 4 bone assignments in the Sims 2. Whatever, if you've done like 5 bone assignments in any case, and it may cause like transparency or, your mesh is not going to be right. So in that regard, you want to press limit total. I do it after weight painting every time, regardless of how many I used. So I've hit limit total, and let's go back to edit mode and Alt H. Instead of just selecting hair alpha 5, you're actually going to select your GMDC. And once that's selected, you're going to file, export, and Sims 2 GMDC.5GD export. Cross your fingers. And if you wanted to name this separately so you have kind of like a backup or something, you can press the plus sign and it will add a number at the end. In this case, I already had a number, so now this becomes Blender Phase 3. Or feel free to rename it what you would like. Don't give me an error. Don't give me an error. Don't. So we didn't get an error thrown at us. We're going to minimize Blender. Leave it open. Don't ever close Blender if you don't have to. Oops, sorry. Now what we're going to do is we're going to delete this. You have a backup. That's your Blender Phase 2 or whatever you named it. Doesn't really matter. 5, import. Now we're going to import back in the Sims 2 Unimesh import v4.09a or v4.09, whichever one you have. If you import over another model, results may be unreliable. I want to continue, yes. And we are going to open Blender Phase 3. Some skin waste total 100%. Yes, we want to correct those. So now it's imported our hair and the scalp that we brought with it. Also, sometimes with Blender, it causes the scalp to have bad normals, but the scalp you started with has good normals. Anyway, so we can go ahead and delete that. And let's go ahead and look at our joint assignments. So you're going to go to the Joints tab, Draw Vertices with Bone Colors. And this is where Milkshape and Blender are not friendly with bone assignments. In this case, I have pink down at the bottom. And when I select those and press Show, it says None 0, Spine 2, and 100. When Blender translates to Milkshape, it inverts the bones. Good news is, we can fix that. Delete the hair. We'll bring him back. He's not dead yet. And we're going to rename this from hair _ alpha 5 to group _ base. File, export, TSRW object. If you're in your workshop, you're going to name this reference mesh, ref mesh, but this is what we'll use as our base. You're going to name it needs joints. I'm going to put adult female and J, adult female needs joints. Go ahead and save that. Control Z a few times to bring back your hair. You can also go to edit, undo until you get your hair back, your scalp back. So now we're going to go into the mesh toolkit and you're going to open the application and you're going to auto assign tools for WSO. And from there you're going to auto assign bones and you're going to assign it against itself. We're going to replace all bone assignments. We're going to go and do assignments and save. And I'm going to name it AFHJ for adult female has joints. You can put has joints, whatever you want to name it. And save. Let's go ahead and copy the comments from our edit comment section and delete the hair, the old hair. Then you go to File, Import, TSRW object, and find your new the one that has joints. Now spine 2 is up at the top, none's on the bottom. So then we're going to go back to group base, and before we do that, now we could leave it as is and we can move forward. But if you wanted to, you could animate the, I think we're going to go ahead and move forward just for the sake of time. When you have short hair like the bangs, if you want them to like really sway back and forth, like I basically would just mark these, the bangs all as none, 0. So go back to joints and change spine 2 to none, assign it. You could send this back in to the mesh toolkit, and using a short hair animation for adult female WSO, it should be in that underscore bases folder I sent you guys. You can run this current hair against the short animation WSO and then just replace only empty or invalid bone assignments, and then you'll get the hair that moves all over the place. For the sake of time and for you guys, we're not going to go through that. Basically the same process as what just happened. We're going to go back to the comments, and we're going to paste back in the comments that we copied, and we're going to copy the name hair underscore alpha 5 and replace it, rename it. We have our hair. So we're going to go to 5. We're going to export Sims 2 Unimesh Exporter v4.09 Melanie AF final. So minimize that. You're going to go to your mesh references and pull up adult hair mesh file. Once you're in your mesh references, you're going to copy the adult hair mesh file over to your workshop. Make sure you're copying it and moving a new one over into your workshop. And if you're like me, you can just name it what it is. So AH00B Melanie AF underscore mesh. And then you open it up in SimPE. You're going to go ahead and select all by left mouse button, hold that down. You're going to come over here, clone, and you're going to delete the old. Then you're going to save it. Then you go to Tools, Object Tools, Fix Integrity. I name it exactly as I named the mesh, AH00B Melanie AF. This way, if I need to find it later, if I like merge packages, I know what it is. Then you're going to select Update, and then OK. Then we're going to click on the GMDC. You can filter it to the Geometric Data Container, GMDC, or you can find the type right here. Once you've clicked on it, you're going to copy the file name. You can right-click and copy as well, or Control-C. And from there, you're going to come back up to the top, and you're going to right-mouse click. You're going to replace, and you can see what I've been working on. And you're going to go to your workshop, and you're going to find your final form. Like I said, because I didn't add that extension, it automatically put .simpe, which is fine in this case. Then you're going to open. The resources change. Should SimPE reload it? Yes. And then we're going to put back the file name and commit. Changes were committed. If you want to preview, select both. And then we can see the hair. There's no texture because this is just the mesh. You can also see the face count and the vertex count, or the vertex count, I guess. So it's still 6,400 faces, about where we started, a little less since we deleted. Right mouse button to roll her around. Ugh. And I just hit cancel, make sure you save. We're just going to go ahead and drop that into our downloads folder. And we need a recolor for our adult female. We're going to go right to create parts, start new project, create genetics, hair. So a lot of my hair uses subsets, the hair underscore alpha 5, because keeping the same naming convention is a lot easier than naming everything separately, because then you kind of have to start over every time, or you have to update the property sets and everything. So keeping the same naming convention of other creators or even your own creations is so much easier than starting from scratch every time. We want a hair that has a toddler age in it, and the reason why I say that is because let's say you decide that you want all the stages of life. You want all the options to have all the ages. If you choose a hair that's only like teen and up, you're going to have so many more issues than if you just pick one that already has a toddler stage attached. So let's go with this one, and because I know it has every stage from toddler to elder, we're going to export the selected textures. We'll name this Melanie. You can name it whatever you'd like. So yeah, see here I have all the stages of life. So import to game, and we're done with Body Shop for right now. Your saved Sims folder, you should have Melanie. We're going to double click and open that in SimPE, or however you open SimPE, go ahead and open up Melanie's recolor package. So we need to link our meshes. So there's a lot going on. If you're not familiar with a recolor package, best thing to do is start with your property sets. So this right here, or what looks like with this icon, these are your property sets. These instances tell you where they are in your resource list, basically. So number 1, PU is going to be toddlers because they stink. Number 2 is going to be child female. 3, teen female. 4, 5, and 6 are the adult stages as well as elder stage. What differentiates them is the age here. 8 is adult or young adult, I don't know. They go together for me. And then 10 is your elder for sure. I think 40 is adult. Someone can correct me in the comment or in the chat. I don't know, they don't matter. They all get the same mesh. So for us, we're going to skip toddler. So toddler was 1. So it's 3D ID reference file. This is where our mesh is going to go. We're going to skip 1. Child female was 2. Teen female was 3. Skip all those. We're going to start with 4, then go to 5 and 6. 4, 5, and 6, the adult stages, at least for hair, they can share a hair mesh because the scalp is the same. Adult males and teen males have different head sizes or scalp sizes than their feminine counterparts, but your children and your toddlers have the same scalp head size. So those are interchangeable, whichever gender you choose. When the 3D ID is loading, don't click anywhere. Just wait for it to load. Otherwise, you're going to have to close out and start over because it'll act wonky. But you know it's loaded when this is all here. And you're going to go up to Tools, PJSE. I don't remember what that stands for. Someone does though. Then you're going to go to Mesh, Body Mesh Tool, Linking Stage. After beginning linking, you'll be asked to close your 3IDR, blah, blah, blah. Basically, it's just saying when you're done, don't just save it while you're on it. You have to click somewhere else and save it. So I'll click OK. And we want to route back to our downloads folder. So in my quick access, I have saved Sims 2 collection. You're going to want to go to your downloads where you put your mesh file and find your mesh. And this is Melanie. So you're going to select open. Now close your 3IDR resource without committing by opening a different resource. Okay. So we're going to go to the next one. Tools, PJSE, Body Mesh Tool, Linking Stage. We're still in downloads again, so do it again. And last one for the adult stages. Now I try to link these first because when I'm done, I can go right to my texture files and I'm going to find the texture package that has the colorful hair, which in this case is black. And we are going to right click on it. Hopefully you have the NVIDIA utilities thingy so you can do build DXT. Once you hit build DXT, you're just going to click open image and then route back to Melanie where you have your texture. You're going to open it. I leave these as is. Yours may be different. If it is, I would suggest to put DXT3 format, sharpen none, and then build. Now we have our new texture file in 1024 by 1024. You're going to commit. Okay. And then since you're not on one of the edited 3D IDs, you can go ahead and save by pressing Control S as in sugar or the save icon up here. Exit and go back to Body Shop and let's see, cross our fingers, I didn't bork it. So we're going to go to Build Sim, Build or Clone Sims. We're going to go to Genetics, Hair, and then Custom, and then voila. Well, that's up really high. I put it up a little bit higher than I wanted, and I can still see gaps, but yeah. I mean, that's about fine-tuning and everything like that, and just kind of getting it into Body Shop is really what's important. But if you did want to edit, what I would suggest is opening up AF Body Base, a new one, going into, so this is your final. It's no longer your final. You're going to change your extension from .simpe to .5gd. Maybe unusable. Are you sure you want to change it? Yes. SimPE and .5gd are interchangeable. So, File, Import, .5gd, Melanie, Final, Sims 2, GMDC. So this was our final form for Melanie. Turn off the armature because it's really obnoxious. But now you can make edits as needed. So if you wanted to edit the weight paint, you can do so with wherever you left off. And just so you can see that. This is what I was hoping the view and you guys would see. I guess I could have changed it to solid instead of texture. That's big brain stuff. And I might just want to bring this up more because the green was a lot lower than I guessed it. Regardless, you can now, make edits as need be. You would export the same. Your weights, if you didn't change your weights, it should export and save your joints as is. And then you do need to come back into Milkshape, bring in your Blender edit, export through Milkshape as a .5 or as a new file or overwrite your old one, and then open up your mesh. I know I'm not doing it. I probably just should, but concept applies, I guess. We've already done it. And then you would come in here, same thing, copy your file name, replace, put back your file name, commit, open up Body Shop, and check your work. If you want to check your bone assignments, you can do that in-game. You could also check it in here. It's part of Red Simmer's tutorial as well. You can go to the wrench with your hair. And the armature, we wanted to set it to this armature up here with the AF body base. Do that with the hair. So you clicked on the wrench, the armature is .001. And then you would select the armature, make sure it's unhidden, and then right click to select one of the skeleton nodules, and then R on your keyboard will rotate, and then it'll move your head so you can kind of see how your hair is moving. I guess I did alright, but the farther she goes up, the more it goes in. But yeah, that's kind of how you can see. And R, Z, you can go one way or the other. R, Y, ooh, break your neck. R, X, will go up and down. Before you make recolors, make your other meshes. Test your adult female or test your adult male mesh, whatever you start with, test that first. Don't make recolors yet, because you'll have to link your other life stages too. So it's best to start with one recolor, test the heck out of it, then move on, do your other meshes. Then once you're completely satisfied with the outcome of that recolor, then make your other recolors. Otherwise, you'll be linking everything over and over and over again.
Excellent job, Nikki. Thank you so much. Anybody have questions for her? Anything they want to refresh her, want to go over and review?
Oh, thanks, Fia. I always get young adult and adult mixed up. Thank you, Piper. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Julie. You guys are so nice.
If you guys have any questions afterwards, the workshop channel, that's where we're also going to post the video when it's ready to go. And we'll also have a feedback forum for you guys to post any feedback for Nikki directly on this workshop or for the admin, so on things that you liked or things that could be done differently. I just wanted to bring up, you reminded me, if you guys have any suggestions for future workshops as well, we have the future workshop channel, so just click on that suggest a workshop thing and place your ideas in there. If we have teachers available who are willing and able to teach in that, that's a great place for us to look to see what you guys are interested in, what you guys need. So make use of the workshop category, and we'll do our best to keep this going.
Yay. Okay, thank you all so much for joining. I will see you in Discord. I hope you have a great rest of your Friday and a happy weekend. Talk
You
to
too.
you all later. Bye, all.
You too. Bye.